Well, thank you, Gaston, for the invitation to come and share with you guys. This is a really cool group. I hope to be able to come back and visit some more and just make some friends. But my name is AJ Mora, and I'm the PR and media director for Apollo Currency. And I'll just start because I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. It's pretty obvious that the blockchain community and cryptocurrency has become quite saturated with a lot of projects that claim a lot of things. And I was sharing with Mark earlier, it's easy to realize why people do become Bitcoin maximalists. I mean, obviously it's the dominant coin that's proven itself and paved the way for all these possible altcoins to achieve all the things that they've wanted to achieve. I'm sure I'd be surprised if anybody here could tell me what the 50th top coin on CoinMarketCap is. I mean, that's a nice rank, but we know what the top 5 are, and obviously I say that just up front to be pretty transparent. As I share with you a little bit about what Apollo Currency is, I just want to come at you knowing that I understand there's a lot of competition out there. And there's some certain things that I think the blockchain community and cryptocurrency expects in terms of what this industry is supposed to do and provide. And just having a little powwow earlier, obviously mass adoption and real world use cases matter and are important when people want to pay attention to anything other than the dependency and real reliability of like Bitcoin. And so Apollo Currency set out to develop a platform that would see the current market condition and try to fulfill and solve a lot of what was happening in its development about 2.5 years ago. Apollo Currency, just some quick elevator pitch facts that you might appreciate, was never an ICO. It was completely funded by the Apollo Foundation. It's a proof of stake coin. It was pre-mined. There's about 16 billion coins in circulating supply, about 20 billion total. Part of that the foundation kept to continue some of its development. It's how marketing is done. It's how some of the other development and infrastructure and corporate structures are sort of taken care of. It's been on the market on exchanges for a year, July of 2018. It currently is quite undervalued. It's currently about between 12 and 13% of a cent, which isn't very much. It had a moment with some of the bull runs in the last year or so where it went up to 40%. So there's a lot of room for growth there. It's obviously as volatile as anything else. It represents quite a big, claim. Our statement is we are the one and all, ultimate, all-in-one platform and currency. And the reason for that is because the Apollo platform was set up so that any of the top 5 cryptocurrencies, you can do any of what those have to offer, any kind of blockchain-related task, all in the Apollo currency platform. It's a 3rd generation blockchain. One of our most recent claims of fame, which is a big deal, some of you may be familiar with the technology of sharding, the idea of segmenting the database in a way to make it more efficient and grab pieces of whatever the transaction is in order to make it more hyper efficient and easier to move along, dealing with the issue of bloating and some of the transaction speeds that sometimes get clogged up. So that was really exciting. Because it was such an innovative and breakthrough technology, our community and people are wanting to have a little bit of certification. So we're actually looking for academic validation. And it's like, how do you validate something that's never been done before? We're trying to find the credible source to do that so it doesn't sound like we're blowing hot air. But if you were to take out your phone right now and download the Apollo app from your iOS or Android phone, and you could send Todd to Mark any Apollo, you'll see it fly in 2 seconds. So a 2-second transaction speed is a great thing. We've set out to make sure that Apollo is also very scalable. So just recently we announced a new way of approaching the evolving of the blockchain that's similar to the DAG evolution of the infinite type of modular systems called ARC, which hopefully by our roadmap at the end of 2020, you'll be able to see an infinite scalability that will be more modular as a decentralized operating system, which is really kind of cool and exciting. Our developers are working really hard to get that accomplished. It's one of the things that I think is part of the 5 things we all want the blockchain to be. No matter what cryptocurrency you are more preferring or working with: reliability, efficiency, sustainability, privacy, and security. early on when the Apollo was released, it really took pride in its privacy mission, because our Olympus protocol actually had quite a bit of all of the privacy features that you would find on Monero or Dash or Verge, but all available on the platform, from IP masking to coin shuffling to coin mixing. And the cool thing about it too is that the platform was set to not just be exclusively private, it allowed for it to be public as well for the contributions towards mass adoption. So you have, as a user, the choice to decide when you want it to be a private transaction, when you want to turn on IP masking, when you want it to be coin shuffling. So that was kind of a part of the scalability contribution. And the reason that I say that that's important is because in a public transactional kind of mass adoption environment, you want to be able to work like with the transportation agency, where you're tracking packages, or the medical industry, where there's certain information that needs to be publicly exchanged. So there's a number of reasons why they made it scalable, so that public and private could be a part of the user's preference whenever it was necessary. Speaking on mass adoption, really quickly, I know I have just a few minutes. One of the greatest things that we have accomplished too that's really exciting, that could really open up the doors and be a game changer, Steve McCullough, who is the director and it's his baby, the CEO, the Apollo Foundation leader, has created some relationships in Africa, where we all know inflation and corruption, and like we've talked about, third world countries really looking at blockchain as sort of a savior. We were adopted by an organization called the African Development Funding Group. You can look them up. They are they're a group that literally funds infrastructure through the 54 nations in the continent of Africa to help with dealing with corruption and some of the inflation that's going on. Things like, for example, in Zimbabwe, I wonder if anyone could tell me how much a $1 trillion Zimbabwe note is worth.
10 cents.
45 cents, so a little more.
No, I bought it on eBay.
Yeah. You know what's so funny is I wanted to buy one just because it's so amazing to have a $1 trillion note. I mean, I didn't even realize that they existed. So when Steve was reporting to us some of these things that are going on, it's just really fascinating, the opportunity that's there. And the ADF, the African Development Funding Group, literally endorsed Apollo. We've been written up on Forbes, LA Times, Yahoo Financial, CCN, pardon me. And so there is a lot of good press out there that you can go ahead and look at some of the press of what I'm speaking about in regards to the Apollo Foundation and the Apollo platform. But they said, and I quote, "Apollo is the one and only obvious choice for blockchain in Africa." And that's a pretty great endorsement. So the 54 member nations are aware of Apollo. It almost seems like a long shot, but it's happening. We've hit the road, we've hit the ground running. So much so that Steve literally picked up his family and moved to South Africa to be boots on the ground to really take this to the next level, which I think would be a real great breakthrough for people to even pay attention to Apollo, based on what I said at the beginning of my chat here. I mean, you gotta have something that just awes people. Blockfolio has a choice of up to 8,000 coins you can follow. CoinMarketCap has about 2,200 coins that you could look at. What the heck is Apollo unless you get a chance to even hear about it? And what difference is it going to make if you're really trusting Bitcoin or Ethereum, unless there's something that says, dang it, I should check that out. That sounds like it could make a difference. So I'm a firm believer that blockchain technology is the future. I am a firm believer that it's going to change the financial system as we know it. Todd mentioned earlier a very good documentary called The Creature of Jekyll Island. You should check that out. Just do some research on the history of money so you can kind of wrap your head around why Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and blockchain is definitely the future of the financial ecosystem. Apollo is doing its best to continue its development. We will have smart contracts. We will have atomic swaps. We have a side chain ID. The blockchain is a third generation, so we can do what Ethereum does. If you wanted to start your own token or coin, there's just it's a very feature-rich platform. And I encourage you to check it out. Like I said, it's on your phone, iOS, Android, Apollo Currency. You can look it up. And ApolloCurrency.com is the website, ApolloCurrency.com. So I'll be hanging around, obviously, afterwards. I can answer a few more questions. Would love to give you my card. But thank you again for just allowing me to share. And
I have questions.
Yeah, all right, do it.
I just downloaded the app, but that'll be like some questions off the side.
He doesn't do tech support. You can't figure out the app.
Tech support. I think Kevin O'Leary Investor? Was that right?
I don't know that he's an investor, but he did endorse us there on a little bit of a bit. If you're paying attention to Pomp and some of the stuff he does, or MSNBC Crypto Africa Trader, or what have you, Kevin tosses back and forth. If you ask me the truth, I think he's keeping it on the down low and probably has some investment, if you ask me the truth. But there was an opportunity where he endorsed a quick little video that we obviously hyped up for obvious reasons. Mr. Wonderful loves Apollo, but you know, to sit here and tell you that he's a huge Apollo investor, I don't even know for sure. So that's the truth.
Speaking on Kevin O'Leary, he came out really strong against Pomp on the Squawk Box.
I saw it. Yeah. Pomp did great at coming back at him, though. Yeah.
That was about a month ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I also saw a video back from 2013 where Kevin O'Leary was pro Bitcoin. I don't know if anybody saw that.
Oh, really? And like I said, it doesn't surprise. He's a flopper. Yeah, no, I'm telling you.
So
yeah.
now that like he's negative Bitcoin, and now I'm like hearing that he's like Apollo's like, is he like trying to shut down Bitcoin, or you know?
I know, right?
Dark side say, but try my currency.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wish I could stand here in front of all of you guys and say with that kind of confidence that Mr. Wonderful is an Apollonaut and going for it. But I think most of us are kind of paying attention to that with tongue in cheek. I think he's flip flopping because I think he sees the value. I think he goes after Pomp to fish for information, and I think that personally, as a wise investor that he has been, and the money that he has been able to create and wealth that he has, he would be silly not to at least take a real hard look at it. And I'm pretty sure, if you ask me, my own personal opinion, because I don't know for sure, he's probably invested in some kind of cryptocurrency.
Gotcha. One of my favorite things that cryptocurrencies sometimes do, at least the development team, is stress test. And I'm not a big Bitcoin Cash guy, but I do like that they did a stress test and really, you know, show the people that on the network you can do X amount of transactions. Do you guys do that? Are you guys planning to do that?
Well, we have our GitHub shows all of our activity and everything that we've done. It's an open source code. We've done a lot of the testnet stuff. We are currently aiming with the new ARC development to have, this sounds a little crazy, but I'm going to say it, 1 million TPS. I mean, we're going for it. There's no doubt about it. And everything is there for the take, for the look, for the verification. We actually encourage it. We actually have a campaign right now where, like I said, we're looking for the kind of academic verification that will help Apollo have a little bit of a brighter light and get more people interested in at least taking a look at it. So
1 million TPS? How many nodes was that with?
I don't know the answer to that, honestly. I do not know. Yeah.
How many are up right now?
I do not know the answer to that either. Yeah.
The Bitcoin Cash thing was false too.
It was
Yeah.
false. Yeah. You run 3 nodes and you run a transaction.
What is Visa transaction per second?
27.
I have no idea. 27,000?
So
No.
there's no need for a million though if you have.
Well,
But when you're running dApps, it's a totally different story.
when you're running dApps, it's a totally different story. And DAG is, I don't understand DAG fully either. I mean, I confess the learning curve.
It's like a,
Yeah, but it's infinite, right? It's
but there's problems with that. That's not been proven at all.
correct.
That's IOTA. That's problem.
It is problems, and that's why we're saying that it's similar to DAG. Obviously, ARC will need to prove itself. It's not towards the end of our 2020 roadmap anyway. It is advantageous. It is ambitious. I do invite you to look. I'd love the questions. I'm pretty straightforward.
We'll do a transaction.
We'll do it. We'll do a 2-second quick transaction for sure. But I appreciate being able to, if I don't know the answer to something, find it for you. As the PR and media director, I am constantly learning as well, so I don't pretend to think I know it all. There's a lot of the technical side that I'm still trying to wrap my head around with, you know, and I don't think there's a problem in being able to admit that in such a new groundbreaking industry. I quoted recently when people were talking, I tweeted something recently when people were talking about sharding and what it really is or what have you. And, you know, every technology that has had innovation will always get questioned and scrutinized until it's experienced. I mean, that's just the way it's been down the line. Every innovative, groundbreaking technology will always have some sort of skepticism or question until it's actually experienced. And so I think we're breaking a lot of new ground, and we're all sort of learning and trying to accept what works, what doesn't, and I think that's part of the journey. And I'm excited about what I understand about the platform, obviously, that I'm trying to represent as well as I can, and I think that we're a transparent, very transparent community. Our entire department and directors and core team is always ready and willing to answer the questions you have.
Transaction fees, what do those look like?
We're a proof of stake, so it's basically shared amongst transactions within the community and the users on the platform. If you go outside to a third-party exchange to bring back and forth, that's whatever that is. Okay. Right now, we're Bitmart and IDAX are our primary exchanges.
But if I sent you $100,
one Apollo. It's a
1% fee.
It's a very small fee.
That wouldn't be 1%.
Because it's fluctuating. It's one Apollo.
My bad.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what the proof of stake is. It's how it's shared. Yeah.
And the development team. I mean, how's that? I mean, do you guys have like a Apollo Foundation? Do you guys have teams in Russia, teams in Australia?
Our primary developers team is in the Ukraine. You can look up firstbridge.io, which is the team that Apollo has contracted to develop. Are you familiar with FirstBridge?
I'm familiar with the Ukraine community.
Okay, yeah. So Daniel, Sergey, Victor, these are some of the names of the developers. But you could look at there's on our page. Obviously, there's a link for the team and who it is, and you can kind of get a sense of who's behind the operation.
You showed the logo on the shirt, man. Why you got it?
It was all that pizza earlier. No.
Oh, good, man. There you go.
There you go.
Apollo. All right, everybody. AJ from Apollo.